Peru still hasn't announced their new president. They still haven't. And Keiko Fujimori, who lost, doesn't want to step down. We had a protest in DC on Saturday, which is now 3 days ago. And here's an article on Casuchan News. It talks about the imminent coup in Peru. Legal maneuvers and delays presented by the far right are pushing Peru closer to a coup with each passing day. It's been 20 days since Peru's June 6th election, and the authorities have not yet proclaimed the winner, which is Pedro Castillo. According to the law, a new president must be proclaimed by July 28th, and if this state of limbo continues until then, the electoral process will have to be thrown out and a coup will have to be consolidated. And according to the rules in Peru, guys, if there is not a president that's decided by July 28th, which is also Peru's Independence Day, then the person who becomes president is whoever is in Congress that received the most votes. So the person who had received the most votes in Congress right now, who's sitting in Congress, is somebody who's in Keiko Fujimori's political party. It's like it's been planned out and it's been by design. Right? So she just wants to extend it as long as she can so that there's a constitutional crisis in that country and so that the right can maintain power there. They want to maintain neoliberalism as much as they can and empower the rich people there. Same story, different country, but the biggest influencers, which is the United States multinationals, are involved, which we'll get into in this story as we read along. Leftist candidate Pedro Castillo won the presidential election in Peru, receiving 50.125% of the vote, the equivalent of 44,000 votes more than far-right candidate Keiko Fujimori. Fujimori presented a number of motions to annul votes in provinces that delivered landslide victories for Castillo, claiming the existence of quote-unquote irregularities. The motions have been analyzed and thrown out by electoral authorities. Nevertheless, no winner has been officially declared president-elect. So this is something that we were saying when we were giving our speeches over at the event that I live streamed on the ground, is that this has been reviewed and overseen by multiple countries. There's no evidence of any irregularities or fraud that occurred. Canada has accepted the results. The European Union has accepted the results. Multiple countries in Latin America, including Argentina and Mexico, have accepted the results. But Keiko doesn't want to step down. And what the article is going to mention here, after rejecting Fujimori's motions, Peru's National Electoral Court, the JNE, which is what decides what makes the official announcement of who's president, was suddenly thrown into chaos on Wednesday, June 23rd, when a member of the court and known Fujimori supporter, Luis Arce Cordova, resigned. The resignation meant that the court no longer had a quorum and thus could not declare Castillo's victory. So she had somebody in the JNE who was supporting her. It's a complete conflict of interest. So she has supporters in the JNE. She has supporters in Congress who is expected to become the president if this is prolonged until July 28th. And she also has people in the ONPE, which is the organization that counts the votes. Piero Corvetto, who was a member of Keiko Fujimori's party, a Fuerza Popular, Popular Force. And of course, she has the support of the monopoly of the mainstream media in Peru. If there was any kind of fraud or irregularities, it's most likely had to have come from her. She has more power. Like Peru Libre, which is Pedro Castillo's party. This is their first time making it this far. They don't have the connections or influence like how Keiko Fujimori has, which were established also during her father's presidency, Alberto Fujimori, where he empowered all these capitalists and billionaires in Peru. So let's read along a little bit more. If Castillo is not proclaimed president by July 20th due to bad faith delays and maneuvers of this nature, then the law stipulates that Congress must convene and elect a president. Right-wing forces currently have a majority in the legislature and would be able to elect one of their own and call for new elections, thereby annulling Pedro Castillo's victory. His victory would be annulled. They're going to prevent Castillo from being president if this goes beyond July 28th. Can you imagine how unbelievable that is? They already had their elections, and he's going to be taken out. They're like, oh no, we can't accept your democracy. We can't accept the will of the people. Oh, this is important. I have some family members who are participating in this, unfortunately. At a street level, retired military officers have been holding rallies in Lima to demand a coup to prevent Pedro Castillo from being sworn in. This follows numerous letters asking for the same. Many of the congressional lawmakers who would be in charge of electing president after the 28th were present at those marches. So the military is very right-wing. A lot of them also, like some of the veterans, remember what happened with the Sendero Luminoso attacks, some of which were on innocent people. They hate communism. They hate communism. They think that Pedro Castillo, if he becomes president, then he's going to facilitate more terrorist attacks, even though, if they got, supposedly, according to their narrative, if the communists got the leader that they wanted, why would they be committing terrorist attacks? It makes absolutely no sense. So yeah, there's that. And then there's the fact that Pedro Castillo is not even he's not even a communist. He's more of a democratic socialist. All right, what else is here? Peru's electoral authorities were then hit by another bombshell from Fujimori supporters on Thursday, June 24th. Leaked audios from Vladimir Montesinos, the jailed right-hand man of former dictator Alberto Fujimori, revealed significant attempts by him to meddle in the National Electoral Court, the JNE, and possible collusion with the United States Embassy. I can't remember the name of the ambassador for Peru that's in DC right now, but in one of my streams, I showed how she is tied to the CIA. So yeah, this is not over. We can't congratulate Pedro Castillo as president. I know I gave my congratulations. Maduro and other people congratulated him, but it's not like our congratulations is just like, hey, like, congratulations that you got the majority of the votes from the people. But, it's not over because of everything that we just went over here. This is being delayed. And it may be taken away from him. Or better, I should say, it's going to be taken away from the Peruvian people. So here's what Montesinos said. There is no other way. There is no other way because it's been a long time now on the issue of the U.S. Embassy. They have had to handle this differently. You can still do the embassy thing as I am explaining to you, but make it clear to the father, Alberto, or the girl, Keiko, understand, I don't know who you are talking to. I don't want to be contaminated. We are trying to help in a common goal. What do I get from this? Nothing. I'm not interested, and I'm never going to ask them for anything either. I'm just trying to help because otherwise they're screwed. The girl will end up in prison. That's the situation, right? Yeah, if Keiko Fujimori doesn't become president, then she's going to end up in prison because she's wanted for corruption, but she was still allowed to run for president because of the way that Peru's system is set up. It allows criminals, like financial criminals like this, to run as president. And she's going to pardon herself. She's going to pardon her father, who committed crimes against humanity on people by sterilizing indigenous people. If somebody from her party becomes president, like that congressperson who I was telling you about, who is in her party, if he becomes president after July 28th, then he may pardon her as well. We have criminals in Peru. We have criminals in the US, all over the world who run the world. It's crazy. And then what else we got here? So here's what Keiko Fujimori said. Fujimori demands international audit of Peru election results. So she's urging for an international audit. Far-right candidate Keiko Fujimori continues to refuse and to accept the result of Peru's presidential election, in which leftist Pedro Castillo beat Fujimori by a margin of 44,000 votes. The defeated candidate has presented a number of appeals which have been overruled and is now demanding an international audit of the votes, just asking for like the US to step in. So here, I'm just gonna play this. And I'll translate for you guys. It's taking forever. Or I can just zoom in here and press play. Maybe that'll work.
El Perú es un nuevo epicentro de confrontación. Confrontación entre el comunismo y una economía libre, entre el control de la prensa y la libertad de expresión. Y hoy que tengo la oportunidad de estar frente a la prensa internacional, quiero también dar mi mensaje al mundo de lo que significa esta batalla para nuestro país.
So she's saying that Peru is like facing against communism, is facing against these dangerous people, and the threat of the free market being taken down. And she's talking about like, here's what I'm going to tell you guys in front of international press.
Esta segunda vuelta no es solamente entre Keiko Fujimori y Pedro Castillo, sino estamos enfrentando también al partido político, como además ellos se autodenominan, marxista-leninista Perú Libre. El destino ha querido que el Fujimorismo, que hace 30 años detuvo el avance del Sendero Luminoso.
So she's talking about Peru Libre, which is Pedro Castillo's party, and they do call themselves Marxist-Leninists. And there's arguments that are made whether they actually are Marxist-Leninists or not. But she says that she's giving her father credit for the end of terrorism that happened under his reign. Alberto Fujimori did crack down on Sendero Luminoso, which is the Shining Path, which were a group of Maoists. And she's basically trying to give herself credit as well and saying like, you can entrust me and prevent from ever happening again.
Hoy represente a todos los peruanos en el intento de que Perú no se convierta en Venezuela. Esa es una de las grandes responsabilidades que nosotros tenemos.
She wants to prevent Peru from becoming like Venezuela because she claims, and a lot of people who are brainwashed by the mainstream media claim that the problems in Venezuela are because of communism, even though there's scientific evidence showing that it's because of the US sanctions. That's not what she's saying, but I'm giving you that context that she's not giving you. But that's the narrative that they try to fearmonger people with. It's like, oh, look at Venezuela, look at Cuba. This is how Peru is going to end up.
Y queremos informar al mundo hechos muy graves que vienen sucediendo en esta última etapa del proceso electoral. Y como lo dije al comienzo, esto no se trata de mí. Se trata de que el Perú es un país estratégicamente, geopolíticamente hablando, fundamental en Latinoamérica.
She's saying that this is beyond me. Like Peru is a rich country, has all these like great resources.
Y es por eso este intento de la izquierda internacional de, como dé lugar, y con todas estas manipulaciones que hemos visto en mesa, quieren tratar de torcer la voluntad popular.
She's saying that the international left like Venezuela, and I guess in her case she's probably gonna say like Argentina. Like she's saying that all these or like Cuba also, she's saying that all these people are uniting and trying to rig the elections in favor of Castillo in Peru, and they're trying to go against the will of the Peruvian people, but there's no evidence of that at all. and like talking about like secure elections, like Venezuela has one of the most secure elections in the whole world. Now that doesn't mean that they aren't going to like try to intervene in elections, but there's no evidence of that. There's plenty of evidence of the US trying to get meddle into elections and succeeding in installing their right-wing puppets. So what she's doing, she's projecting, she's gaslighting, and she knows it.
He estado en prisión 3 veces, más de 16 meses, alejada de mi familia, y de esa experiencia tan difícil es que saco las fuerzas.
She's trying to throw a pity party about how she's been in jail for 16 months, far away from her family, like trying to make it out to be as if like what she didn't deserve it, like she was unjustly in prison, and saying that through those difficult times she's learned a lot.
Para decirle a la izquierda radical y al partido marxista-leninista Perú Libre que nosotros vamos a levantar nuestra voz. Lo que queremos es que se respete la voluntad popular.
But she's not all right. So she's saying that through that experience that I had while I was in prison, like I came out of it, and now I'm strong, and I'm telling the Marxist-Leninist Party of Free Peru, Peru Libre, that you will not intervene in the will of the people, like what the popular will of the people decided. But that's what she's doing, because she's not accepting these results. Like she keeps claiming that there was fraud, and she's not presenting any evidence at all. So one of the claims that's being made is that there was like dead people that voted, or that there were children that voted. But here's an article here called Peru Check, and also like she hasn't presented any documented evidence to show that this occurred. But here's this article called Peru Check talking about how it's false that the cases of votes of like underage people and people who died, this claim by this guy Rafael Santos is false. So this article breaks down how it's BS. El ex candidato presidencial por Partido Patria Segura, Rafael Santos, publicó on Twitter que. So he's talking about, the article's talking about how Rafael Santos made this claim, that there were like kids and dead people that voted. Like people are claiming like that this list that shows people that were registered to vote. So some of the people that died during the pandemic are listed there as people who were registered to vote, but that it doesn't mean that those people voted. I also, if you have not yet seen like the footage of me on the ground for the protest that I organized with some of this group called Peru al Extranjero, Peru from like overseas, or like from like outside of Peru, and the Answer Coalition, you guys should check that out. It was a beautiful day. Some of the audience members who are here, like Josh Davis and Jordan, were there. There was dancing, there was singing, there was great speeches that were made by some of the Peruvians that attended, and by Answer Coalition. And then I also gave my speech as well.